Hello, my name is Rithwik Seth, and I'm going to tell you a story today. This story has two parts, whose settings are 7,674 miles away from each other, or halfway across the world. So, without further ado, I would like to tell you the story about the Flame of Life. Now, I know the Flame of Life sounds like the theme of a dramatic Pixar movie, but throughout this speech, I'll try to show you what I think it is. The first part of the story starts in India, in December of 2019. My grandparents have always lived in India. They lived by themselves, but have always had someone to support them. In India, it is very easy to afford domestic help. There's always someone to do the dishes and clean the house. There's always someone to drive them to places. There's even a barber who came to shave my grandfather. My grandmother loves cooking and would always help cook meals. My grandfather, on the other hand, liked to practice his English with us, and we enjoyed watching his English improve with every visit. In December of 2019, we visited them for one of the most meaningful events of their lives, their golden anniversary. The golden anniversary is when two people have been married for 50 years. My father organized an extravagant party. Keep in mind, this was before the COVID pandemic struck globally, so it was allowed. My father invited everyone whom my grandparents knew. I had to wear a suit. That's not relevant to the story. I just don't like wearing suits at all. Anyways, it was a pretty fancy party. It was in a lavish hall in a hotel in India, and everything was very dignified. There was no menu, only selected appetizers and main courses. The appetizers were carried around the rooms by waiters, and anyone could take the appetizers they wanted. The main courses were in a buffet-style delivery. Everyone was wearing their best attire, which is why I had to wear a suit. However, the best part is that my grandparents loved it. My grandfather generally does not eat anything outside, bringing homemade food to restaurants. However, here, he ate and enjoyed the food. My dad was able to reconnect them with old friends and have them meet new people, something they usually never have an opportunity to do. This event was where I discovered the flame of life. Ever since then, I have felt like people have this flame in themselves, which motivates them to get up in the morning and brightens up their lives every single day. This flame can change as a person grows. I feel like my grandparents' flames were always bright. I think they fueled each other, making their respective flames brighter. Additionally, whenever we would call, their flames seemed to brighten. You could tell by looking in their eyes. Our visits would intensify the flame even more. But that one event, where all their friends, old and new, and family members came there to support them, turned their respective flames into a raging fire. It's nice to know that that flame was still there when my grandfather passed away 3 months ago. In June, we received a call from India. My grandfather was not feeling well. We knew at his age we had to be careful. The ideal action would have been to put him in a hospital. However, the coronavirus was a huge problem. At his age, exposing my grandfather to the coronavirus was practically a death sentence. As a result, we had to take multiple precautions. At first, my dad worked days and nights, calling doctors all over India to find one willing to take care of my grandfather in my grandparents' home. If that was possible, he would not be exposed to the public. However, it became clear that my dad could not do enough from halfway across the world. My dad left for India a few days later. He was able to escape the necessary quarantine by describing the situation and passing a COVID test. Soon, it became clear that they had to take him to the hospital. Taking as many precautions as they could, the ambulance took my grandfather and grandmother to the hospital. The doctors diagnosed him with terminal stage 4 pancreatic cancer, with no treatment possible given his age, because any possible treatment would have done more harm than help. My father knew he had to take his father home. Family in India came to stay with him, including my aunt and her family. A few days passed, and my grandfather was not getting better. I woke up on June 29th, and my mother came into my room. My grandfather had just passed away. We called my father and grandmother in India. They told us that my grandfather had passed away surrounded by family. He was calm and had passed away peacefully. That flame from that anniversary party, which was the last time I saw him, was still there before he closed his eyes forever. During that call, I noticed two things. One thing was my father. He looked stressed, exhausted, and defeated. He had spent weeks trying his best to rescue his father, but his father had died. Although he was not able to rescue his dad, it was clear that the effort my dad had put did not go to waste. That effort had ensured that my grandfather was happy. That effort was the reason that flame was still in his eyes. The second thing I noticed was my grandmother's eyes. She had just lost her husband, someone she has been married to for over 50 years, someone who has been there for every challenging moment of her life. Her rock. That is why when it was no surprise when I looked into her eyes and noticed that the flame was very dull. She felt alone, as if no one in the world was with her. So I told her, "We are there for you." And it was clear that her eyes brightened a little. Losing my grandfather this summer made me understand that not all seniors are fortunate enough to be surrounded by everyone they love. Some are alone, who do not have anyone to help them, and have to do nearly everything themselves. As COVID made everyday life difficult for all of us, I started to wonder how COVID put seniors like my grandparents at risk. Getting daily chores done, like getting groceries, water, or cashing checks, could put the seniors at mortal risk. I wanted to do something and decided to support the elders in my community. With the partnership of the Fremont Aging Services and my Boy Scout troop, I set up an assistance service for seniors. I reached out to seniors, assessed their needs, and then connected them to scouts who worked with them and helped meet their needs, which includes getting groceries, sorting the mail, and cleaning the yard. This brings us to the second part of the story, back here in Fremont, California. Diane is an 84-year-old lady who has lost most of her eyesight and lives all alone at her house in Fremont. She also has the distinction of being the first senior I started helping personally. Diane had called me after seeing my number on one of the flyers. I was pleasantly surprised by her cheerfulness and by the fact that she made many jokes. Diane requested for some groceries, and I was bewildered by her list. She wanted to have sushi, pumpkin seeds, and grilled salmon. I frankly do not enjoy trying raw food. I couldn't believe that an 84-year-old was more adventurous than I was. After writing down her list, I went and picked up everything she wanted, wearing gloves and a mask the entire time. When I came to our house, I observed the two old cars whose tires were flat, and the trashed yard. Some people had thought it smart to ruin this old lady's life by damaging her yard, car, and I later learned, house. However, when I first met Diane in person, she was extremely energetic. She jumped up and down like a child on Christmas when she saw that she could have sushi again after a whole year. And that is when I noticed that she had the same flame of life in her eyes. She was very grateful and decided to make the service weekly. On our second delivery, however, I came to her house and found out that she wasn't feeling well. I was worried because of what had recently happened to my grandfather and so many other seniors this year. I asked her if she had anyone who could help her. When she said no, I realized that I was one of the few people still there for her. I knew what I had to do and told her that if she ever needed anybody to drive her, I was there for her. A few days later, I called to make sure that she was okay. But when I called her, I received a message saying that her phone number had been disconnected. Anxious, I proceeded to her house and received no response. I began to worry as her phone remained disconnected until one day I received a call from Diane. Since she was partially blind, she could not sort her mail and find her bills. As a result, Her phone company disconnected her service until she paid her bill. Relieved, I offered to sort her mail every time I brought a delivery over, and she was elated. She reminded me of my grandparents because every time I was there, I could see the same flame in her eyes, and that flame was bright. She did not let what happened to her house or car affect her. She did not let her sickness affect her. Her resilience and optimism made her full of life and energy. I wanted to show you today that seniors can be full of life, of that flame, and every little thing you do can help improve that life and brighten that flame. Some people do not have anybody that can help them in their immediate family, so their community serves as their family. We, the community, are obligated to help those who need it during these trying times. We have the power to brighten that flame and help it endure. I hope that you use this power well. Thank you.